Good evening, this is Kuro, and number one's in the background playing you might hear off and on. I have a Z46 game on Sea of Fortune. It's a domination battle, tier 10 matchmaking. Going over the matchmaking real quick. Got two Salems, they might be a radar threat. We've got a Baltimore, that rounds out the radar threat. Destroyer-wise, Haragumo, not something I want to tackle in an even fight. Z46, anytime a German DD is fighting another German DD, it's kind of a pain in the ass. Um, and then an enemy Benson that, we can pretty much steamroll over a Benson. So this game's going to look a little different because um, I'm in a destroyer that, it's not the best type of destroyer for supporting your team. But you're in a ship that has a lot of strengths um, in its consumables where you can basically utilize those consumables to get stuff done for your team. And what's going to happen over the course of this game is I'm basically going to be left here all alone at ACAP, and I am just going to, try to spot, scout, delay them on A. Uh, just in general, be a giant pain in the ass for the enemy team, and it's it's a solid effort. This game's not crazy high damage, um, but it's also a really good lesson in trying to salvage your damage in a torpedo boat. I've seen probably a dozen different replays guys send me where um, they make a bad choice and they end up basically forfeiting, a chance at, getting an average, damage game or even a good damage game. So right up here, I bumped into the Z46. And like I was saying earlier, German DDs, when they fight each other, it's usually a giant pain in the ass. Because a lot of how you want to fight is going to be, based around your Hydro, which you both have. So you're pretty much should be expecting this. This is me being a little. This is slightly over aggressive. Nobody. I wasn't really impressed with anybody shooting. That's why I'm making this move. I know this guy's going to reverse into the cap. I knew that Zhao was somewhere back there. I didn't think you'd be sneaking like that close. But I'm watching the Zhao, and I just kind of timed when he would shoot. And I go on ahead and just bug out. Throw a couple shots while I'm in the smoke. Just try to get some resets on that Z46. Unfortunately, don't get anything, but because I'm in the smoke, I am instantly disengaged, and interesting enough, that Z46, even though he has Hydro up, he'd be able to spot my torpedoes out, miles away like I did his. He has opted to bail on the cap. So all this time my team's has flipped C cap. They're getting points on it, and they still have not really even begun to get close to getting a cap. So, I did trade a little more HP than he traded, just because he had additional guns shooting at me, whereas I had none on him. But it is what it is. Now, what I'm doing here, I'm looking at the mini-map, and as a torpedo boat, your mini-map is your best friend, even more so than a gunboat. A gunboats, you can let your guns do a lot of the walking for you, but with torpedoes, you really want to be out in front of targets, so your torpedoes have less reaction time when these ships uh, are coming in. Now, here I'm launching long, and I know I'm launching long, um, but I'm doing that because with torpedo reload, this ship has something like a 77-second torpedo reload. With adrenaline rush, it's actually underneath that for me right now. But you can really just chuck these things out there, which is why I consider the German boats, torpedo boats, first and foremost. Um, but I'm looking right here, and it's looking like these battleships are gonna just get scared off. Just the mere presence that they're spotted, they know I'm out here. All of these battleships are literally going to turn around and go the other way. The power of one destroyer. Take a look at the map and tell me that the DDs, that I didn't have an impact right here. If these guys would be able to push south here, they would be able to utilize these islands. They would be able to just cross shoot the shit out of my team that's all bundled up here at CCAP right now. Probably would have cost us the game because as my team's got a push going on here, they're going to have to try to push into B. Well, you push into B, they've got strong point here, they've got flanking shots in here, and you know, they can push right across in through the church here, and it would just be too much typically for guys trying to push into B cap. So, you know, that one move right there really stalled them pretty heavily. And you can see my team's already starting to make the push into B. So that just that little delay there has bought time for my Baltimore to push out of a danger zone. Gave my Moskva time to push out of a danger zone. And right here, this is kind of another critical juncture. I'm gonna... Oh, this isn't a replay. I actually have a pause button. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to torpedo some of these battleships that are trying to push back in to reinforce BCAP. I know they want to get there. You know, this Amagi right here is kind of taking himself out of the fight. He's not really going to have shots on my team for a while, so I'm not really worried about this Amagi. I basically pushed in. I kind of expected this Z46. I think a better move, rather than trying to hunt me, would be, you know, to try to work this area right here with your hydro. I mean, you can see how far 5 kilometers is. You can be spotting the Buffalo, maybe even the Moskva from this position back in here, and give your team chances to farm these guys that they might not otherwise have. That's where I would have went if I was the Z46 in this guy's shoes. But right here, what I'm noticing is these battleships, they're not interested in pushing south. They know I'm here, and they're just, you know, for any other, you know, it pretty much comes across that they are so scared of destroyers that they don't want to be anywhere in the same zip code as I am. Terrible shot right there, bouncing my AP, but I make the switch to high explosive, and just gonna start chunking this guy. I go on ahead, I pop smoke, and you know, that one little delay right there where he didn't have hydro up, he let me get an extra shot into him that I otherwise wouldn't. Now, I noticed this Amagi's kind of all over the place shooting me, So I'm setting up an ambush right here, and I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause it. I've been doing so many actual replays that I forgot what an actual OBS replay, how it plays. But what I'm looking to do, you just saw me switch ammo types, and you know, I'm done playing footsie with this Z46. He's going to come out around the island this way, and you know, I'm going to show him the business about AP. Um, and this is the nice part about Z46. Z52, you would really have to angle much harder to get both of your front guns into the fight, and that makes you a lot easier target for this Amagi to back here to hit. But with Z46, I don't give a shit. I got most of my DPM in the back. I can angle, I can do whatever I want, and it's why I feel Z46 is stronger than Z52. So, taking a nice little shot now. Notice this Z46, he's slightly angled to me, and where I'm shooting, I'm basically shooting this nice thick part right here. That's how I basically got, you know, that almost 6K volley just with that one shot. That was 6 full pins, and that's about as good as it gets with with these German DDs. I mean, the only thing that would be better is if it was Citadel damage, and with this AP, you're not typically landing Citadels. You just don't have the pen to do it. Z46, he's throwing desperation torps, but he's done. That time spent launching torps would have been better spent angling at me, and that's kind of the reason why I made that sharp cut into the island, is I wanted to try to create that nice angle as he tried to come out around the island, that I was going to get that nice broadside shot, and that just set everything up. So that was almost textbook. Now this is another really important thing. At this point, I'm gonna pause it. Sorry, I'm cutting it up, but I want you to explain what I'm thinking before I go on ahead and execute it. My default mode is I want to try to get back to this cap. I've got 2 battleships here. 2 battleships closer to the caps is typically they're more important targets than trying to get these guys. Now, the realities of the situation is my team has crushed the enemy team. This is already a win. These 2 targets, yes, they're more important than this Amagi, but these 2 battleships, they're kiting away from me. I'm not going to be able to catch these guys in time to torp. Even if you look right now, if I torped and they're already outside my 10-kilometer torpedo range, if I torped right now, most of my torps would be into the island. So that's telling me that my time is wasted here unless these guys, you know, slow up, try to turn in, try to do something like that. So I'm gonna sniff up here for a minute, because I know this Amagi's still out there on the moon, and there's nothing he can really shoot out here. So I'm gonna just take a gander, see if anything opens up here. And that's why I'm coming up here. I'm looking at RPF. That's telling me roughly where the Amagi's at. It's also giving me a range to the Amagi. You know, 9.4. This guy's closer, so he's somewhere, you know, up in here somewhere. And I'm just, in particular, I'm watching that second Montana, because the first one's definitely going around. When it looks like there's no chance that second Montana is going to turn in, I go on ahead. I just circle back around, and at this point, I'm just going to go for this Amagi. And this is pretty much me just saving my damage at this point. Killing this Amagi isn't hugely useful for my team, um, but it's a nice way to kind of up my stats a bit. Now he just got spotted. If he was aware, he would he would know that he was spotted briefly before he shot, and he'd expect a destroyer. If you saw me, I switched my guns and torps, and I basically waited a minute. I'm simulating uh, a torpedo drop that a lot of guys will be swapping back and forth between uh, their guns and their torpedoes when they launch. And battleship drivers with priority target, your torpedoes don't show up on priority target. So battleship drivers are in the habit of, some of them will change speed when or direction or something like that every time there is a number change on their priority target. So that was a tactic that I've kind of developed over the years to try to bait out that turn, because these battleships have, rudder shifts that are well in excess of 12 seconds. And with torpedoes, even the IJN torpedoes, at least what I consider the competitive torpedoes, the Kagero 10 kilometer, 12 kilometer, and the F3s. Um, they all have sub 9-second torpedo reaction time. So if these battleships lock their rudder over one way, they're done. I mean, it's just the same way that a battleship is shooting a cruiser or something that's, just started to turn out broadside. It's the same principle. You just need to learn to lead with a slower projectile. And that's one of the actual best ways to consistently land torpedoes on target, is to take that, wait for that turn, and you'll be able to accurately predict where they're going to be. Uh, and I mean, you can snipe them easy with, even single launch torpedo volleys, like you saw with a Yagumo video that I'm still working on. Think it up. I think it uploaded last night. Um, but I'm basically just taking predictive aiming with the torpedoes and just picking people apart. Again, this game isn't, the be all end all, but it did have some good lessons uh, to teach people that are trying to drive torpedo boats in the land of, the success that people are having with gunboats, the consistency of gunboats. The main difference between gunboats and destroyer boats, destroyers I think have a higher potential of damage, while gunboat destroyers typically are just more consistent. The obvious exceptions to that, Daring and Haragumo, that have insane rates of fire chance, and all of that. They're literally damage farming machines, and they're pretty much played as such. In this case, 7 torpedo hits got the piece of the Montana. Um, the AP here, it's no contest between a German DD that's just going to use HE. If you can mind your angling, um, and force that guy to use HE while being able to pick shots or set shots up where you can use even one good AP volley, like that almost 6K volley. That's basically two, almost three of his volleys um, back at me. So use that AP. You get just that one little shot that can turn the fight. So rather than than sit there and constantly just use AP. Obviously, if they're going to give you their broadside, go for it. But most people, when they see, oh shit, I just got wrecked, they're gonna start angling. And I see a lot of guys that get target fixated. And I actually had a rank game where I gunned down a Kitakaze that got fixated on me, and he was just using AP. He's full broadside, and I just gunned him down just with my front guns. And so, that's just a little lesson there on using AP and just trying to force things into your advantage. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will talk to you later. Hopefully number one isn't making too much noise. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good